The part of the story that really a lot of people don't know is in that moment of seeing other mamas asking if they could purchase some from that batch that I had made for my own family, I just started crying because it was an answered prayer. And leading up to that moment of making elderberry syrup in my home kitchen, what people don't know is that weeks prior, almost every day, I was asking God, show me a way to help support my family financially right now.
You're listening to the Big Ideas Podcast with Ashlee Ilg. Tune in for honest conversations as we pursue bold dreams, redefine what is possible, and empower the next generation to live big. You'll hear stories that prove over and over again that just because something wasn't a part of our plan doesn't mean it won't be used for our good. Whether you're already an entrepreneur, you dream of becoming one, or you're raising the next generation of entrepreneurs, this podcast is for you. There's no time to waste on your big ideas. So let's get started. Here's your host, Ashlee Ilg.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Big Ideas Podcast. I'm so excited to just keep these conversations going, and I have a really fun guest in the studio with me today. It's Jessica Lowery. She is the founder of the Power of Elderberries. It's just an incredible holistic elderberry business. But Jessica's been in business since 2018 with her husband. She's a mom, just full-on entrepreneur, and I mean, your story is so incredible. I think we connected over social media. You reached out and just felt like it was such a great fit to bring your conversation to the show. And so, yeah, welcome. We're so excited to chat here.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it's going to be so good. And there's so much to your story. And, you know, as a mom who loves to do things naturally and holistically as much as possible, we were so aligned on so many topics, and just a mom seeking to kind of solve a problem and like look where it turned, and like look what God is doing with this thing that I had no idea where it was going to go. I mean, those are the stories we love, right? Where we're like, I didn't see this coming, like how did we end up here? So yeah, Jessica, why don't you just kind of drop us right into, I know you had your personal health challenges, your journey, and kind of walk us through, like just kind of drop us into that scene of where you were at, what you did, and as much as you want to go in there, we'll kind of pick up along the way.
Sure. Well, it actually, I guess, started really in fall of 2017. My husband at the time was having some really bad health issues that we really didn't have answers for. And around that time, as we moved into the winter season, we were smack dab in the middle of cold and flu season. And I knew that I wanted to have elderberry back in my home. I had actually had my own experience using elderberry back in 2013. So years prior, when I was pregnant with my son, Beckham, and it helped me overcome, fever, chills, body aches, these symptoms that I was having while pregnant in a natural way after discovering it. So there I was in winter of now 2018, wanting elderberry back in my home to support my family. At that time, I had a 5, 3, and 1-year-old. And although we had tried elderberry years prior when my daughter was around the age of 2, and I hadn't quite had my boys yet, but she didn't like the taste of any brand that I would bring home. I, as a holistic mama myself, wasn't fond of the ingredients that I was coming across on store shelves. So I just wanted to create a formula that my kids would willingly take. I wanted to support their immune system. I knew it was great. I wanted to have it in our home. So I made up a batch in my home kitchen. And I had this idea, why don't I share my experience from using elderberry years ago so that more families can be supported as we move into this flu season. And, showed a picture of myself making it in my kitchen and had a couple people ask for some if I had any extra. And the part of the story that really a lot of people don't know is in that moment of seeing other mamas asking if they could purchase some from that batch that I had made for my own family, I just started crying because it was an answered prayer. And leading up to that moment of making elderberry syrup in my home kitchen, what people don't know is that weeks prior, almost every day, I was asking God, show me a way to help support my family financially right now. The medical bills were piling up for my husband. Courses were getting dropped at the university I was teaching at. And financially, we were just struggling at that time and season in our life. So by, moms asking if they could purchase some, it was an answered prayer for our family where it's like, okay, yes, of course I'm going to step into this because I've been asking for a way to support my family. And this just seems like that right next step that I need to step into. So that's how God showed up in that moment for our family. Little did I know that it would actually lead to a business venture that we never saw coming. Like I mentioned, I was a lecturer at the university here in Myrtle Beach and Coastal Carolina University. My husband did financial planning, and the business just grew so fast organically that months into the business, we found a commercial kitchen and hired a director of operations and jumped wholeheartedly into supporting our community that we knew was having such an impact on their health above and beyond just supporting their immune system. So that's where we've been for the last 8 years.
Yeah. And I know just because I've read a little bit about your story too, and even just hearing you tell it, I mean, I love that move of faith and that like, oh my gosh, this is an answer to prayer. Of course I did it. I'm curious as somebody who has also been in those situations where like, yes, I've been praying for this. Yes, this, you know, you can't ignore the peace and that knowing that like this is what I'm supposed to do, but also I'm just curious because from me, I also match that same knowing and that confidence that this is an answer that God is showing me. Also like this tension of also like, but this is really scary. I don't know what's next. What do
Mhm.
I do? Like, where do I start? I mean, was there any of like, okay, God, this is great. I'm just gonna starting tomorrow, we're all in. Or was there like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, thinking back to that moment, and of course, there's been so many stories that have shown up over the last eight
Yeah.
years that have also been answered prayers and scary. And am I supposed to do this? And I don't know how, and all the things. But going back to that moment, because the whole business idea wasn't even in my mind, I think it was so much easier for me to step in because it was like, oh, I have a dozen friends that want to buy some mason jars of elderberry syrup. Like, of course, I'm going to help support their family and ours at the same time. This is great.
Yeah.
But then the 12 turned into 36, the 36 turned into 100, the 100 turned into 500. And then I'll say about 4 months into the business, it was about 4 months in, where I looked at my husband thinking, like, what are we doing? Like, little did we know that
Yeah.
this is what was going to come of all this. And here we are, three kids under five, working full time, nursing, preschool, kindergarten. Like, I mean, our life was in a million different directions on top of trying to support my husband's health as well, during
Yeah.
that time. So I think in the midst of all of it, and it goes to show you with everything, when we're in the midst of it, you don't really understand the chaos around going through it until you look back. And then, of course, we can all relate and scratch
What
our
was
heads
I
thinking,
doing?
how in the world did I do
Right.
that? Did I ever sleep? Like, how did we do that? Because we were up from 7:30 at night after putting three kids to bed to 2 o'clock in the morning, getting up at 6 like a.m., doing it all over again. Like, I don't know how I did it, but you get that strength, right?
Mm.
From him when you're going through what he's calling you to do and following the purpose that he has for your life. And, looking back, it always feels crazy. How do we do it? But I know there's also things along the way that have happened where I think the same thing, and you
Mhm.
know, we find a way. So, but
Yeah.
it's been an incredible journey, and it's just been really great.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And it is so true when you look back. I feel like in our personal experience with kids and businesses and you know multiple kids over multiple years with multiple businesses all in different stages along the way. It's so true. When you look back, you're like, everything always seems to happen in like these tight seasons where it's like, could we just spread out some of the drama? Like, could we just not do it all at one time?
Right.
But I love what you said. I mean, there's always, it's almost like that hindsight is that, not to use the cliche, your hindsight's 2020, but I think for me, I think that's how God reveals himself when we can look back and we have that clear picture of like, there's no way I would have made it through that in my own strength. He was
Right.
obviously there, and it just builds those track records of his faithfulness and his sovereignty and his just his strength, like he is the one that's strong. And for me, as like this type A recovering overachiever, and I probably need to stop putting myself in that box, but it's just true. And I do think it takes a lot of moments of getting to the end of myself when God's like, I'm here, just ask for my help. Like, I'm ready to help. I will. And I do think I've gotten better to recognize that he's there sooner than what I maybe did in the past. But um, I'd love for you to share some more of those. I mean, that's incredible growth from, and I know you weren't giving like specific numbers, but like a dozen to 36 to 100 to several hundred. I mean, that's incredible growth. I mean, that's what any business owner would be like. That's the dream, like quick growth and all that. But also as a business owner, I know that comes with a lot of growing pains, a lot of like, whoa, we need systems in place. Like I can just see you and your husband looking at each other at late night, like, what are we doing? Like,
Oh,
we've got to figure some things out. And so, hey, friend, I wanted to take a quick pause to ask if you've taken the quiz yet to find out what type of dreamer are you. It's super important to discover what's working for you, but also some things that may be keeping you from really pursuing your greatest purpose. It takes just 2 minutes to find out if you're the skimboarder, the sunbather, the sandcastle builder, or the surfer babe. So jump over to dreamerquiz.com and be sure to share your results and tag me in it. Now back to the show. Did you have like that fear of success as much as maybe like fear of, is this going to work? Or,
oh, absolutely.
what were some of those challenges you guys had to overcome?
I think back to those early days, and we jumped into hiring support very quickly, although we had no idea how we were going to pay them because I went back to teaching full time. I was like, yes, God, you called me to this business, but don't you know and realize that like I love over here? Like,
Hmm.
why? So I held on to teaching with a tight grip. I refused to give it up. I went back teaching full courses, 5 courses, 150 students a
Wow.
semester for another 2.5 years. Okay. So from 2018 to mid 2020, I was teaching full time. And Jake, my husband, resigned from his job a few months into the business to support this crazy thing that was happening in our life,
Yeah.
which if he didn't do that, there would be no business today. So we hired very quickly to have the support that we needed, of course, marketing and sales and director of operations and pulling out our hair and what are we doing and building a website and figuring all the things out behind the scenes. But looking back, it's like, I don't think we ever stopped long enough, if you will, to really pour a solid foundation from the very beginning because I wasn't 100% there. I was absent. We were in a crazy time of our life. We had never owned a business, nor had we ever thought we would be business
Yeah.
owners. So now it's like the foundation. We're like ripping off the walls of the house, if you will, and the roof, and like pouring the concrete again, if you will,
Mm.
and try to just make sure that that foundation is really, really strong before we continue to build the business. And all the while, yes, we've sold over a couple 100,000 bottles, and the business has boomed over the years, which is great and grown organically. But it's also taken a lot of uh, effort getting there in terms of what I think reflect on the most is the weekends of being at the I mean, we started off at 5 days a week at the farmers markets, and that's where a majority of my life had been spent of acquiring new customers and sharing samples and getting in front of our community and people meeting people from all over the country here in Myrtle Beach, one of the highest tourist destinations in the country. And where we are now, 8 years later, we're still doing farmers markets, but it's like, okay, I'm ready to pivot away from that because the guilt that I have, especially as a mother, is all the time that I've poured out to help support the business in this way.
Mm.
And of course, develop these awesome relationships with people. But that gap of time with these kids and how fast they grow and giving that up, with being at destination events and gone for the weekend and out on Saturdays and all the things.
Mm.
So,
So do you
uh,
do you think a lot of the foundation that you're rebuilding or building in the first place? Do you think a lot of it has to do with helping your kids see what you're doing or letting them be a part of it? I know they're a little older now, so it might make a little bit more sense. I mean, it's not that long ago, but a few years makes a big difference. But what are some of the changes that you're making now that I mean, like you said, you're pouring the foundation now or repouring it maybe a little differently?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that comes to mind, like I mentioned before, because I went back to teaching full time and that was my love, we hired marketing and sales right off the bat. And so my presence, although I was face forward present at events and markets, I've never been present in the business in terms of understanding brand tone and marketing and being the face of the company in terms of connectivity with my community.
Mm.
Because I've always kind of handed that over to someone else to tackle and to take hold of for me because I never had the confidence in myself, nor was I really in a place from the very beginning to really understand, social media and email marketing and all the things that kind
Mm.
of go into that. So stepping back into that role now and having the confidence and not beating myself up or battling imposter syndrome or whatever it was that I was going through for years, it's been a blessing of reconnecting with my community, if you will, in that
Mm.
way. Of what I have really shoved underneath the rug of not really wanting to step into for years, because of the internal language that I was feeding myself, which were all lies, but all the while, going through a lot of challenges, in my marriage, in my family, in our business, kind of behind the scenes while letting other people kind of take the wheel and help
Mm.
drive the business. So a lot has shifted and changed. Um, and that's just kind of like what comes to mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder, well, I mean, you mentioned, and I mean, feel free to share as much or as little as you want. So, I mean, in terms of just that balance with, and I use the word balance very, very lightly. As a mom entrepreneur, I personally don't believe that there's balance. I think that's a lie that gets us really having that guilt and having that mental ping pong of like, where should I be right now? But there is a piece of doing both well and knowing where your priorities are in different times, and especially as as a wife as well. So what are some maybe lessons learned in that season that you've carried over now? I mean, I'm just thinking there's a lot of listeners who are very similar situation, solo entrepreneurs, maybe moms, maybe not, maybe have marriage commitments, other job commitments. What are some things that you've learned that they could benefit from hearing that, like this matters, this doesn't, like saying no versus saying yes, or just giving yourself that peace, or that, I mean, you said a lot of the battle was kind of more internal with, your own like business self-image and knowing like whose you are and whose business this really is and what you're trying to accomplish. So just kind of like spitfiring here, but like, what would you say, to the listener who maybe who currently is in the season that you were in, 7, 8 years ago, that's like, okay, but how do I do this? Like, what can I let go of, or what do I really need to focus on?
Sure. I think, reflecting back, one of the biggest things I think anyone needs when building a business is the support from their spouse or their partner. And I think that definitely, you know, laid a great foundation of building the business of having my husband Jake's support. And, along the way of just the battles, a lot of it has just been taking on maybe more than we could handle or hiring too many employees that we had a hard time keeping the sales up to continue to, make payroll and different things
Mm.
like that along the way. These are real battles, right? Being in a trademark lawsuit that smacked us in the face that we didn't see coming, and then having to deal with that for 3.5 years
Wow.
behind the scenes. So there's been a lot, which then, of course, plays a role on your emotional health and your mental health. And then that carries into your marriage and your finances and your business and your leadership. And it's a ripple effect, right? So there have been things along the way that have happened that have really, shaken us, of course, tested our faith, built trust. Um, just the strength that I had to have to get through them, all the while trying to raise children and be a mom and show up in many different hats every single day. So, of course, we all go through seasons where it's like, okay, everything seems calm, but who knows when that's going to change, right? Anything can come our way at any time. So, I would just, tell the listener to at least have the support that they need. That in itself definitely helps, especially from the beginning. And more importantly, to invite God into your business and to help guide you in the calling that maybe in the purpose that you're being pulled towards. I know that for years, I kind of felt like I was the one trying to drive the train. And until I invited him and have stayed very still and said no to opportunities along the way. We've had investors, we've had opportunities. Every day is filled with marketing opportunities to invest in. I mean, you're getting hit from every angle, and it's very hard to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. And working as a team with my husband and kind of having that checks and balances with him over the years, we have learned we have not been well at that up to this point. There's been challenges, but having that checks and balances with your partner is very, very helpful as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I would ditto all of that. Um, having several businesses, starting several businesses over the years, and just knowing like, this is what's important to me. I mean, something as simple as, a lot of times in the early years of a business, you could work 24/7 and still have not tackled half of the to-do list. I mean,
Absolutely.
so, I mean, just knowing like, okay,
When to say no.
when to say no, when to pause, when to take a break, when to make it like a rhythm of, for us specifically, it kind of seems small, but it makes such a difference for me and for our kids and just overall our family dynamic, is that Andy is home for dinner. And so even if he needs to finish some things at home later in the evening, maybe after the kids have gone to bed, but even that, he's gotten very protective of his time, and just really trying to be as productive as possible during
Yeah.
those main, hours during the daytime, and just knowing like it's all going to be waiting for me again tomorrow.
I was just thinking the same
It's
thing.
okay. Like once you realize the list is never going to go away, you just
Right?
realize like I can't I can't let that make me feel like I'm finished and I've earned rest, or I've earned a time to
Mhm.
relax or just take my brain off of the business and like really be present with my wife and my kids, or my husband and my kids. And yeah, I think it does. It takes some time to just realize like I'm never going to hit that mark. So what does my day-to-day need to look like for like long term? You mentioned, mental health, physical health, emotional health, relationship health. Yeah.
Right. I love that. And I think that for me, family time, being connected with the kids, I mean, my love language is quality time. So that is always been very important to me. But even though it's been important to me, I can't say that I've done well with carving out the time for it until here recent years of really understanding like family dinners around the table is a non-negotiable,
Hmm.
having time with my kids. And so now going full circle, talking about events and farmers markets and all those things, I've been in prayer. Like, God, I want to show up for my community, but I think I'm over showing up in that way. Like,
Hmm.
how can I release that of something I've been doing for 8 years and put it in your hands so that I can be with my kids on Saturdays, you
Yeah.
know? So it's been a struggle. It's been, especially for type A like ourselves, it's very, very hard to shut your brain off, right?
Hmm.
I mean, you wake up thinking about what tasks do I need to do for today. It's just it's ingrained in us.
Hmm.
So it takes a lot of willpower and strength and trust and faith to just shut the laptop up and just say, you know what, I'm done for today, or I'm going to go on a walk, or understanding how important self-care is
Hmm.
and putting myself first so that I can then care and pour into my family. And that's what the season I am really in right now is taking care of myself,
Yeah.
which has been the first time in a long time. As mothers, we always do for other people. And then you add a business and all the things that come with that on top of our own family. So I've been really trying to take a step back and saying, okay, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go on a walk sometime today, and I'm going to wake up with my devotionals 45 minutes before the rest of the family wakes up,
Mhm.
and I'm going to nourish myself with the food that I'm eating so that I have energy and I feel good about myself. And the emotional clarity is there. And I've started to journal, and just there's little
Right.
things like that I think is so, so powerful and important to share, whether you're a mother or an individual or a business owner or a spouse. I mean, it can benefit everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think self-care maybe has gotten like a stigma that it's like selfish or something, but all the things you just mentioned, all those habits, that's for long-term care for the people you love and
Yes.
being able to steward your business long term. I mean, if you're like I mean, it's literally what you just said. If you're not in a good place, if you're physically, mentally, emotionally not well, then everything else is going to suffer from it. And so
Mhm.
self-care, when it's all about the motivation, I think at the end of the day, if you're doing it to be like hiding and putting off other things, then okay, that could be selfish. But if you're doing it in a way where you're like, this is preparing me to do the rest of my roles and responsibilities better, then it's literally
Mhm.
the opposite of selfish. I mean, yeah. Yeah, we can't pour from an empty cup. I think you said that earlier too. So I'm not trying to repeat everything you're saying. I think there's another piece of when you were talking, it made me really think about, yes, doing the things to make sure that you are prepared and ready to face whatever is coming for that day. And for that reason, being able to pause and maybe not show up at farmers markets or retail events or whatever the business is that requires you to what you were used to doing, that whatever that nonstop schedule was, that you feel like I need to let this go. Yes, to take care of yourself so that you can be capable long term, but I think there's maybe one deeper piece of that as well, that is, and this is where I think God has really been taking me of, do you not trust that I can grow your business even if you aren't the one physically shaking the hands or creating the artwork or putting the words on the
Mhm.
paper, like sending the emails? Are you aware that who I am? I
Right.
mean, he can multiply the tiniest effort. I love to say that my favorite kind of math is God's math. He doesn't add, he multiplies. 5 + 2 is 5,000 in his book.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm going to show up and give the 5 and the 2, maybe even that point 0.5 some days, maybe
Mhm.
even 0, because that's where the peace has led me to just be, and just knowing like, God, this was always yours. These are always your people,
Mhm.
and I mean, that's like that full surrender of like, if I do nothing, Lord, I still trust that you'll make it grow because I'm where I need to be.
Right.
And that's literally just sitting at his feet some days, which is literally so hard. That's so hard for me. And that's I feel like
That
this.
full surrender.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I can't say, like, up to, I would say, the last 6 months that I've been able to let go to full surrender. And it's the scariest thing because it's like, that your prayer is being answered and you can like see that it is. But in order for it to be answered, you have to completely let go. And then you look back and you're like, well, this is actually what I've been praying for. So, like, I literally have to trust that I can let all this go, but it's scary. I don't want to. Are you sure, God? Like, I don't think we're at that place yet.
You sure you don't need me for a little bit? Are you sure I shouldn't just do a little bit?
So that's what's been happening. And I'm just like, okay, this is a test of faith right now. And this is really growing my trust in Him. But this is where I've been praying to step back in, and I'm going to let it go. So, um, man, it's hard though.
It is. And I just think, I mean, I just feel like I can sometimes picture him up there just smiling and like laughing, like, oh, Ash, like you have a track record of me showing up, and I love to show off. So if you would just like go more often, like this is, this might be a lot easier.
Yeah.
But here we are, learning and growing and sharing our stories along the way, and hopefully
Mhm.
giving others the freedom to be like, if you've been holding on too tight, it's okay. Like today you can choose to let go. He's still there. He's still ready to hold you tight, and he can hold everything so much better than we can. And yeah, it is. It's such a journey, and it's
Such a journey.
yeah. He's such a good father though. He does. He takes such good care of us.
He really does. Absolutely.
Um So I would love for you to tell us, kind of shifting gears a little bit, for those who aren't super educated or familiar with elderberries. They are so much more potent than I realized. I mean, I've taken some form of an elderberry supplement for many, many years. Probably a lot came more onto the market post pandemic when a lot more people were looking for a more natural remedy for
Sure.
immunity boosting and things like that. But that's really all I knew it for was, to to boost immunity. So yeah,
That's
take
all I
time.
do.
Yes. So
And
share
so
with us all the things that it does, why you loved it. I mean, testimonies. You've had so many people with so many testimonies of things it's helped with and, cured. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but I'm not legally trying to get you in trouble for making claims. So
yeah, we'll shift away from the weird word cured.
yeah.
We will use the word supports. That's always a great word to use. But yes, elderberries are all powerful, right? So one of nature's top antiviral herbs, supports healthy blood sugar levels, supports sinuses and allergies. They're rich in quercetin to help with that. They're also great for healthy hearts. They have a property called rutin that's great for heart health. Elderberries are rich in anthocyanins, which give them that deep purple blackish color, which help reverse, oxidative stress on the body, can kind of support our body at a cellular level. Elderberries are great, as people have shared. If you look up some information online of helping support cold in flu season, with seasonal shifts, supports the immune system. And when going into the business, all I knew elderberry for was that natural remedy that a lot of people turn to when they're not feeling well to kind of help recovery, right? Because I had my own experience when I was pregnant, like I shared earlier. And with the concoction of ingredients from nature and the formula that I developed with using fresh cut organic ginger root and cinnamon sticks and whole cloves and removing any kind of added sugar, but rather replacing that with local raw honey, those ingredients are all working together to support what I like to share as whole body wellness, because it's not just our immune system, but our digestive health and, sinuses and allergies and inflammation in the body. And they're all kind of coming together, which is where a lot of customer experiences have come in that have supported their body in a much bigger way than just supporting their immune system. So, whether that be supporting their allergies and sinuses or joint inflammation, people that have shifted to taking our product in the evening, it's supporting a more restful night's sleep at night. You can turn to it daily to support your whole body wellness, which many people do. Tablespoon for adults, teaspoon for children. And then if you're not feeling well, to help restore getting back to normal, you can take it every 3 hours up to 5 times a day. And so for our own family, again, 3 kids, this is all our family has ever used
Wow.
since the kids were itty bitty. We take it daily as a supplement, and then we turn to it more frequently if anything kind of comes our way for exposure, if we're traveling, or if we're around people that aren't feeling well, or if you wake up with a scratchy throat or pain in your ears or feel a cold coming on, you can take it more aggressively. And it's just amazing how much nature has the ability to help restore our bodies.
Mm,
I believe God used and put all those ingredients on earth for us to use, because he knew exactly how to help support our health.
yeah.
And that's what we offer. And then we have, of course, the liquid formula, which is refrigerated and tastes delicious. And then we also have a bite formula, which are very different than gummies, which is why we call them bites, simply because we don't add sugar, fillers, dyes, flavoring, anything like that to our products.
Yeah, and you mentioned how yummy the liquid tastes. And I can totally vouch. I took some before we talked today. And because we have 5 kids and, my husband and I, there's 7 of us here. And so we have started your loyalty program, which I highly recommend if you want to try it and everybody loves it. So it's like a subscription.
Yeah.
And it just keeps coming. Not too much though, but we go through it. And but back to the taste. So yes, we have used different elderberry syrups over the years, or tried different ones, and trying to find something that you can just enjoy. I mean, as adults, it's easy for us to just be like, well, it's good for me, I'll just take it, it's not a big deal. But helping kids or teaching kids or forcing your kids to take something like that, not quite as easy for their logic to be like, oh yeah, this tastes terrible, sure, I'll take it. And so yeah, really, I think they were very familiar in the past with like very, very thick, almost bitter tasting. And yeah, yours is like a very sweet, not too sweet, but very sweet, but very thin. So it doesn't like get caught in their throats, I guess would be a way to say that. But yeah, they don't have any problem taking it, my oldest to my youngest. So
Oh, it's
that's
delicious.
that's a joy for any parent.
Absolutely. And you hit a couple things. Elderberries in themselves are very, very bitter tasting. So that's why any kind of elderberry supplement on the market, it's going to have a ton of added sugar to it to help it be more palatable, right? But then you also get things like corn syrup or tapioca, refined sugar. They add thickeners, which you mentioned it being really thick, right? And added flavoring. There might be elderberry flavor in it versus it coming from the actual herb, itself. Added concentrates. That's another word to look for on supplements where a lot of added sugar is. But there's so much love and intention that goes behind why we do what we do. And I always tell people like what we want for our own family, we're honored to share with yours. This started out of our own kitchen in support of our own family's health. And we've never changed anything about our process, ingredients, um, ever in the way that I did it in my home kitchen. And also, a lot of children don't like taking supplements. So even going back to the farmers markets, there'd be a lot of times where kids won't even try the product because they've had a bad experience
Right.
with it. And it takes me back to my own childhood where I absolutely hated the taste of medicine. In fact, I grew up on a lot of fast food, a lot of antibiotics, was sick all the time. And my mom used to have to open up the capsules of antibiotics and put the powder on a tablespoon with grape Kool-Aid. That's how I got medicine down as a child. So
It's creative.
when my daughter was 2 at the time and I was trying to introduce elderberry syrup from my own experience to her, and she was kicking and screaming and fussing and it was flying in the air, and it was such an emotional toll on our relationship, and just seeing her response and reaction to something that was so good for her, that's what really, gave me the motivation and desire to want to make it for my own family because I knew how great it was for their health. But if you can't get kids to willingly take something,
Mhm.
um, why fight that battle? It's really not worth it emotionally on mothers. I mean, I went through it as a child, and then to then see that in my own kids, it's like, nope, we're not going there. In fact, I'm going to keep changing the recipe, which was probably over 50 times until all my kids absolutely love it, willingly take it, and in fact help themselves to it without anything.
That's amazing. I love the story of a mom who had a need and literally didn't stop until you figured out a solution. And then it was such a good solution that it was a solution for more than just y'all. Like, I mean, and I'm not even trying to just simplify the story, but like that alone, it's just so powerful. I think it's such a good reminder for all of us that like the challenges aren't the end. Like the challenges are the opportunity to go, oh my gosh, I'm capable to solve this because I have to, they're my kids, or it's my, whatever that passion point is. And I love that. I mean, it's so inspiring, and I'm like honored to just hear the story again. And just, I'm excited for everybody to hear it, but just the reminder that we're capable with God's help to find these solutions that they're available. They take some, I don't know, So yeah, it takes someone to solve it and then figure out a way to get it in everybody else's hands, you know? I mean, just gosh, that there's so much there. It's so good for the listener who is knowing that God's calling them to something and it's going to serve their family, but they don't know that they've got it in them to feel capable to make it beyond them, but they do know maybe other people would benefit from this. And they know that they just can't ignore that knowing, like we talked about at the very beginning, that this is for me, this is a current day assignment for me. Where do I start? You know, and taking everything that you've learned over the years, what would be some advice that you would tell them?
Well, I think if it's a passion they have, it's naturally going to shine upon them, of other people seeing them radiate that energy that they have for whatever it is that they want to create. Or if it's a service, it could be product based, service based, right?
Right.
And starting with your friends. I mean, that's where this started from, is just me sharing on my social media channel, not even to have a business, but rather just to share my passion behind what I was doing and the why behind it and how it could support another family. So, really getting to the roots of, this is what I have. It supported my family in this way. How is it going to support another family? And how can I share that? And of course, if you're getting the response and the questions and the engagement and, people genuinely interested in what you have to offer, I think that's a sign of taking that next step, right? And those next steps are going to continually lead to something, greater in terms of how big it's going to be in terms of stepping into it, whether you grow a business or do it as a hobby. I think really the pivotal point for us so early on in our business, and what really, really helped more people learn about what we were doing, going back to the farmers markets. And there are farmers markets all across the country. So if it is a product or even a service based idea or
Mm.
passion that somebody has, here we are in February. Applications are going to be going out here soon across the country. Figure out, that local co-op that runs it, and set up a table and see the type of response you're getting from your local community. And I
Mm.
think that those little things like that are going to help somebody drive and kind of steer them in the right direction, and give them the additional support maybe they're looking for, in terms of, should I run with this? Is this something that people are generally interested in, even though it's only served my family thus far, and going from there.
Mm.
I think that's a great way for people that are getting started, to really show up for their community. And of course, with kids, it can be hard. So having a spouse, to support you. I also see families out there,
Right.
people that are starting just like someone from scratch. Their husbands out there, their kids are behind the table coloring and sitting down and having a little picnic on a blanket. Families figure it out and they make it work, if that's something that they're feeling called to.
Mm.
So, just the encouragement for somebody. I know that it seems like a lot of barriers to overcome to make it happen, but maybe you have a friend or a neighbor that can help support you and watch your kids for a few hours on the Saturday to get started, to kind of create that momentum of
Mm.
helping. And of course, with social media and the different groups there are, putting what you have to offer out in those and helping that referral base of word of mouth help carry more people learning about what you do, um, is really what helped us get going. And I think that that same rhythm can help anybody get going.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. And I totally second the word of mouth. I mean, that has always been our number one form of marketing, and it's free. And yeah, just building those ambassadors from like you're doing, telling your story. And I mean, it's so genuine and it's so relatable that the better we get at telling our stories, the more people just naturally, want to be a part of it. And yeah, that literally cannot be underestimated. I mean, that's such a good, it's just powerful. And I do have a final question. So we've talked about your kids a lot, but as also, a mom entrepreneur myself, I love watching my kids sort of get when things click. Um, where it's not pressure. It's not like, we hustle so hard and this is what your life is going to look like too. I mean, we're very cautious that that's not the message that we're portraying for sure. But we also want them to learn doing hard things, stepping out in faith, trusting that God's got us. Um, and going for it is so important, and so letting them come alongside us, being a part of it, even if it, like you said, even if they're sitting on a blanket just in the environment when they're young. And now, like
Sure.
my teenagers, I mean, they can literally come to the shop and do things, and they're very valuable. They're very helpful.
Mm.
So how, maybe just a couple things, like maybe two things. So like, what are you hoping your kids are getting? Or like, what are you seeing them get in terms of
Mm.
like, this is what running a business looks like and like following God's call looks like?
Mm.
And then maybe how do you involve them today?
Such great questions. I think back to when it started, they were 1, 3, and 5 years old. So they didn't even really know what was happening during that time. And so as they've grown over the years, I've tried to share little bits and pieces of our story along the way,
Mm.
because for them, it's like, well, how did mom and dad get in this elderberry syrup business
Yeah.
after all? Anyway. So it's been fun kind of sharing them pieces along the way, because of course, when you're kids, you're just kind of along for the ride in terms of your environment and what all is going on. So just sharing with them that. And I think what I want them to get out of it is, yeah, absolutely, like what you just shared, is just perseverance. And more importantly, I think that it's really grown their faith in us being, business owners, and seeing the struggles that we went through and overcoming those struggles. And as they've grown older, actively talking through what we're going through and praying together, and showing up together. And of course, we always try to instill in our kids, like, you can do anything that you put your mind to. No one is holding you back but yourself, and with God's help, you're capable of anything. And we are very open with our kids about different paths as they're thinking about their future and what they want to do, and just kind of laying out of, what you might want to do this, or you might not need to go to that, or like really just wanting them to be passionate about what they do, and hopefully seeing, I hope that I'm reflecting the passion that I have for our business, and that they can see that. And of course, they do see the hard work and the effort and the time commitment that goes into it. But also, I know that they see the customers and hear the words that they're saying, and the community, and just the impact that it's making on other people. And I just hope they're able to do something with their own life that kind of fulfills them in that way, of just creating a legacy and making an impact on other people in whatever way that looks like.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've realized too, just over the years, they're picking up more than we realize, I mean,
Sure.
like the good things. But yeah, I love watching those moments where our kids just get it, and you're like, okay, they're seeing all those raw, after dinner conversations of like overcoming things, and like, okay, we're smack in the middle of this challenge, and they're seeing all of it. But it's so encouraging and rewarding to see them when they face a challenge, that they face it the same way they've watched us face challenges. And it's glorifying God, it's living through faith, it's those character and integrity, and not being afraid to do the hard things, or maybe standing up for what they believe in.
Mhm.
And yeah, those are some of the most rewarding parenting moments I think ever. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes. And I don't know if it's encouraging them to want to be business owners themselves, or steering them away from it.
Hmm.
Sometimes I wonder, with all the ups and the downs and the all arounds that they see, working through. But I think that there's no doubt that they see, the perseverance, and the hard work and the commitment that
Mm,
Jake for.
yeah. Yeah. And I think it always just keeps their creative juices going too. Like, wow, that's kind of random, but mom says anything goes. So oh my goodness. Well, we could talk all day, and this has been amazing. I would love for you to tell us where everybody can find you. I know they want to keep up with your story. They definitely want to order their Power of Elderberry syrup, and um, bites and all the things. So yeah, tell us where we can find you, follow you, learn more about you.
Sure. So you can follow us at the Power of Elderberries, social media, Facebook, Instagram. You can learn more about our business and our products by visiting our website, thepowerofelderberries.com. And yeah, we would love for people to reach out if they have any questions following listening to this episode. I would love to connect with you personally, and let us know if there's any way that we can support you and your family.
But yes, and I'll include links to everything in the show notes as well. So yes, I love the syrups. They're great. The family loves them. And your story behind it is just truly inspiring. So thank you so much for being here and for sharing it and telling us the good, the bad, the hard, and the amazing. So yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Always keep those big ideas coming, and we will see you on the next episode. Hey friends, thanks so much for tuning in today. Before you go, it would mean the world to me and my family if you would share this episode with at least one person who you think might benefit from this message. And of course, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. You can also follow me at Ashlee Ilg on Instagram to keep up with our adventures and for continued encouragement as you pursue your big ideas. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time.